destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan. I prostrate me offerings and burnt offerings. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond the final destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Siddhartha, Lord of the world, supreme guide of human beings to the attained, teacher of gods and human beings, to you the completely unqualified one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan. I prostrate, make offerings and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the fate destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Siddhartha, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan. I prostrate, make offerings and go for refuge. When no supreme amongst humans you were born on this earth. Intense doubt set in strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you whom I said, I prostrate. With pure bodies, forms and winged figure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain. Thank the best of the three worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme shine, spaceless, faultless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust-free like you, the three worlds above, incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The hazy, heavy, great compassion, the founder and born understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you the one gone to vastness I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path, sublime reality, to the Dharma that pacifies I prostrate. Those who have arranged their course show the path to liberation. The holy field qualified with realization, burning virtues of all precepts. To you, the sublime community engendering virtue I prostrate. Homage to the Supreme Buddha. Homage to the Dharma refuge. Homage to the Great Sangha. To all three immemorial homages. To all worthy of respect, bowing with bodies as many as all worlds and in all aspects. With supreme faith, I make homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only very virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp. An illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble. A dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the thought faults and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness and death. To page 15 for the Heart of Perfection of Wisdom Sutra. I prostrate to the Arya Temple Chair. Thus did I hear at one time the Bhagavan was dwelling on this effulgent mountain in Rajagriha. Together with the great community of masters ranging into the Bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagavan was absorbed in the concentration of the universal phenomena called pratapakation. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara, looked upon the very practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, and beheld those five aggregates also as infinite merit nature. Then, through the power of Buddha, the venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara: Thou should any son of the lineage train who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom. He said that, and the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara said this to the venerable Shariputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage will offer the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon the five gifts correctly and repeatedly behold those five aggregates also as infinite merit nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is not form, form is also not emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, composition or factors in consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness, without character or state, not produced, not ceaseless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in this there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no no possible factor so consciousness, no I, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no optical touch, and no phenomena. There is no I element, and so on, up to and including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration, without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the endpoint of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly completely awaken to unsurpassable perfect complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequaled, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, should be known as the truth, since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared, Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisoha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from that concentration and commended the Bodhisattva Arya Avalokiteshvara, saying, well said, son of the lineage, it is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom just as you have indicated. Even the Tathagatas rejoiced. The Bhagavan having thus spoken, the Venerable Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara, those surrounding in their entirety along with the world of gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised. That's spoken by the Bhagavan. To page 25 for the short mandala. Sashi
Metotram Rira Linji Nite Gempa
Sangye Shindu Mingtero Wadi Dragunam Dashing La Chupa Sho Jetsa Lama Dampa
Kenam Ki Chugyo Kala Kenze Chintine Cheta Zambe Dushe Zemala
Sage Chuji Shama
Abdu So
Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamnidiyatayami Sanje Judan Soji Chanana Janju Bado Dani Jasan Sage Chujin Jive Sonam Gi Dola Benji Sanje Drupa Sanje Judan Soji Chanana Janju Bado Dani Jasan Sage Chujin Jive Sonam Gi Dola Benji Sanje Drupa Sanje Judan Soji Chanana Janju Bado Dani Jasan Sage Chujin Jive Sonam Gi Dola Benji Sanje Drupa Gange de Zenye Zeve Dao Danje Pame Chire Tambe Shune Dende Kodam De La Chazela Dunye Nyenje Sone Jube La Jije Sinde Kanche Dende Kwa Chana Vema Dende Jeka La Soa De Zo Shende Lundush Panden Zave La Marum Bajen Dagi Churu Pende De Shune Gadi Chumbe Kone Jisa Gusong Do Je Ngodo Ze Do So Hai Hangzo Gulong Gomshi Jagin Darwa Gulong 다 굴론 검디 드리니에 성화지기야 수수 용하게 다 저와 가리 채널 가져 톱도 수수 틸레유에 미디어서와 틸레유에 미 아니 수수는 저와이니 튼도 셈제 튼도 덴데라 가져 톱도게 아니 팬도 지도가지 지기니 셈바상보지 지도가 지기니 대체데 다단다디 셈바상보 지단게 탑람디 랍기어다 드링데로 안디 야고지 닝기 스녀야 되거든데 지시나 팬도 영향이 지되는 게 셈바상보 셈바디 야고지 영향이 지되 닝기 유 선배분에 네꾸노 어딘데지 곰식잡쇼스라
So, assuming the correct intention, the motivation that today one's actions of body and speech, one will make to the best of one's ability, that those that are close to one, those one has a connection with, the sentient beings and animals, those actions of body and speech, do your best to benefit them through a kind heart. So the teaching we're about to listen to is the method with which we cultivate such a kind heart. So one is going to listen with that beneficial intention of concern for their welfare.
다 가고 드링 안도 딘데기 셈바상보 전죽심 아니 줄레제하게 딘데기 빼자다 자전부 딘데지 인기 총화 된 거네 깨워상보인 대라 가고
Now rejoice that in context of generating that kind heart, the bodhicitta, one has the chance to listen to a text that deals with that generation of mind. Rejoice in that.
다 단단히 청소하시 싸워 되와 등등도 드링 롭존시야게 베뎁 소라다 탭디 남른 쳔모 쓰기 요레스 수 좀버레스나 아니 제르무신데 너 군저시도 우셔콘데 기대 정부시도 왔대 먼저 꾸잡치레스 제르무신 잠조 남른 쳔모스 다 제르무신 그 툭규라 잔죽샘 귤레 깨네로 아니 데마 테블라야 티션 주던데 어때 람 폼당 림바디 슝단 툼바체 슝가 툼바데 수수귤라 똑같지데 요체 데마 티션 주지 지당게 탭션다던 저거 말했지로
So for those that are here for the first time, what we're about to study is called the Lamrim Chenmo, the graduated steps on the path to enlightenment, the composer of which was the Tibetan Lama, Lama Tsongkhapa, depicted here in the central figure, a large figure, represented by that statue. He composed this book on the steps, graduated steps to enlightenment, having realized in his heart the altruistic mind of bodhicitta. So the steps that are outlaid in such a treatise, text, if we follow them, we will get such insights.
지난주 수수나라 남림베지 냐나 야고요래 니 남림베지 수수나라 여베이나 아니 가두이네 배야고요라 아니 직시가라고 될래 람림디 나기 나라다 랍자잼교도 람림디 직제베이나 안디나 랍자잼교도 태용 거와 근데 배미시 여치마 밀리터베아다 찬죽심 검사 최지세 롱발 게야라 템버구야라 펜도 배열스로 먼저 개인 랍자든데 제부도스로
Ale kirangi gen re.
내가 가와 도나 남는 좀 치는 도구 있다.
So it's good if at home you can have such a text as this on the steps on the path to enlightenment. It's good to have because when one passes from this world, it is good to recall the advice contained within it in order to secure again a perfect human rebirth or be born in a place where one can practice again the Bodhicitta. So one is able to recall Dharma at the time of death, and I always carry a copy with me. My teacher advised me to do so.
라네 디 베제 디 말로 데비너와 티마 가즈 로베이네 록된 레레 칙직부직 양지네 로된 레레 수수심라 소단 tonda menda leya the menda shows
Not only that, but each time you read it, although the words are the same, what you find is that what it induces in the mind in terms of the feelings change each time.
다 드링 안도 디 참로 디 chanjuk semba sangbo 로방도 다 아라운드 메제나래야 semba sangbo 유나 아니 다 칠로 그 튠지 야고 유나래 메나래 개요마래 수수 semba디 semba sang보 semba 야고지 유베이나 칠로 튠지 야고 유나에 지오용 그래 칠로 튠지 누구 메나에 semba 지오 semba디 야고지 냐 semba sang보지 냐도네 지오용 그래 제가 디다 semba sang보 디 동아란서 상물로다 디지 용야게다 짜와 툭대요래서 셈 상부지야 되다 디 상물 하고 그래 나랑 상물 하고 그래 나랑 니나를 연결 만차야로 메디아 냠뇽 가진 연결해도 스스 메디 야블로 같이 믹스다다 디네가 블랑아베 기부중스러워 나랑 토고 미드즈 베미시 상모 개무게야 망보베 기오여스 가르에서도 디네가 미만자 셈바 상보 여대요시 야 내가 딘데지가나야 먼저 개무게 시대면 여러지 가서나 직직라 토보라오지 셈바상 랑 가드이네 나가 알람니 미드 망볼레나 아니 개무게 시대 용구면더라 안데레샤 다인데 셈바상 보지 해야 되다 개침머리샤 삼삼지 가서 상매 다 하고 그래 돼 셈바상 보디 먼저 따지 디지요야 그 자월에 베징에 디시자고 뭐네 상매 하고 그래서
Yeah. And in that sense, then, if you have such an uncontrived, or if you have a kind heart, whatever conditions you face, be they externally good or bad, you are still happy. If the conditions are good, with such a kind heart, you're happy. If the conditions are bad, with such a kind heart, you're still happy. In the context of cultivating bodhicitta in this very life, well, we could say that concern for others, that warm heart, is the very root of well-being. And I don't really need to tell that to you, because a lot of us here have had enough life experience to look back and see that the occasions that we've been happy and been able to laugh with each other and share is because we have had that warmth, that kind heart. Conversely, if there is a lack of laughter, if people around you are doubting and always fixating on I, just consumed for themselves, then you have to ask why, and we would conclude it as recognizing it as a lack of this kind heart. So there's probably not much need for me. You probably know that.
다 셈바상보디 야르제 컨데스탄 그래 해야지
All right. But what we're about is how to foster that warm heart. How do we increase it?
The lonzi danji, the yang sin dana ya war, chanju simjo rambo majiban. The konda ma shogwe lion du kunonji du, the sik the dana degree chanju tiring chanju ke sem majewa jewa che tap gula begins. And chanju ke samba sangu jewa the manyamba chingres. And it jewa the kongbe dangi is what they not do or chaza. And it konda manyega lovalia, the Suzuki sasha jo the tende gonwaji dana. The tick did be missing. Lab chamber, same geage, tick and chocolate and the mango dome, Tagaran Dunge, and Sembaje to not do.
Okay. The question comes, how does one increase such unconditional kind heart? There is the 6 causes and 1 effect, but I'd like to draw your attention to this verse, page 33, this prayer of Bodhicitta. May the Supreme Jewel Bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase more and more. So even if you, of course, if you wake up in the morning and you motivate that is your intention to cultivate such a kind heart of bodhicitta in terms of the cause, but that also it does not degenerate during that day and in fact increases all the time, thinking on just that verse, and then latterly one can dedicate that at the end of the day as well. So without kind of recoursing to lots of study and other texts, just this verse, keep that in mind. It has great waves of blessing and meaning.
Lamsang the Simna, Tembaje, Yetumarba.
Yeah.
Around Kumshi, and sick the Majogan, and sick the Majo and Tonda the summertime were. And Tonda summertime, the jailer, Midoji two in the meet sick to Jot and they loved in a sick the Jordan Rigo, changes Corale, me the Simba, some with Joe shows, Pamelam General, Susula to me to Jot, sick to Jot, Joba to Jetting to the single thing there. About 65 Georgia in Melamstia, that December some with young show, did you with young shows, Pa Love Javina, and it. Bemisi Pendoshima, Suzu Sima to Padova de Le Pentora. I picture the Tujila, Pagila, then you have a yammer.
This ability to generate such a mind doesn't happen at once. Even the ability to recall it. But somehow it is good if we memorize it, because then through habituation, when we recite it, we will think on the meaning and then, recite the words and then reflect on the meaning. So for example, if you come across someone that has harsh speech towards you and or bad behavior, physically or whatever, you can think about kind heart and dedicate, from the depths of your heart, may this person who is ill-intentioned generate such a bodhicitta. And this has the effect of, firstly, you're able to keep your steadiness and not get upset. And secondly, through reciting, it benefits them as well.
Sims the new shiri door, Sim ye, midi to sing the Sharra, and Delayas. Some stambe in a parable de land, Kashel land or lady door. And the Melam de Jonathan and the Pijor Sim, that is another Soya get a shaker and so legal. Jenny there, Susu Dewa me down, and come down over 2 months in that off. That the Pijay Lela Dewa irritating the game. And the Miss Hangwell and the young woman door. And I didn't want to go. The middle get a shego, middle get a shego in the young duty that cover culture. Oh, I middle a message if I tango do. New message 2 months ago, did 2 times.
Okay.
Translate the Daniam New Year. Or did
What's being said is that the mind has a tremendous potency and power, and sometimes even before that person has responded, because you've made this connection with this prayer or a karmic connection with someone, the result happens. I don't know if you've had this experience. I've had it a lot. Before I even send a message to someone, I receive from them something. So there is that that communication that happens from mind.
어디지? 다단다 디 베진 디네마 도샤나 단다. 마 디나라 틀레용 다치디 이용의 남바다. 탐제 먼저 셈나라 가려용 거라서나 미시엔제게 동해 통용데 동해 통용데 아지데 동해데 메로체나 삼산다 정말로 ting도 알아. 그래서 알아줘티 딜라전한저 가라 인지질 엠파티는 진짜 소화에 단념이요 같이 먼저다. 베베시기는 소화 직동이요 같이 삼시요 같이 파르벌라
concern
나라라 동해메 되는 파르베 동해 아지 동해디 매우 저러서는 먼저 미창말라 오늘신의 요래다. 다디 수수 도나chen 딜라 가신체면 시지르면시 창말라 미샤네 둔두두들레 용고요래. 다 먼저 되게 세와디 다 상직라니 야 수수 되자다한테 도요래와 다디 마데스 세와디네 마데 띵sab로 들어서나나 합득할랑 안서 니주 도 강에 연결된 테나니 심나로 처와지 리그도와 안데네
그는 도그
수수 되면제 능메 제로다 다디네 수수 그 빈자라고다 파마라고다 수수 가버시스러질 동에나 다디야 유름보시 냐도고도 아세데 동에시도 가르데 동에데 테러시나 삼삼지 리그도 야디에 야 간삼지네 예로다
dissolve
다디네 마마마 실리데네 야 릭직라 페나가 수수 쇼 가세 미질라 동에도 아세데 동에 테러시나 동에데 테어 녜 치긴 있어지 리그도 하다 다 닝지로딜라 닝지 라고래 다들 마 반으로지 띵사로 서로 도도 타마디 아니 표저 동에 태워디 녜 가르치고도 녜 직치고도 쓴 셈나라야 아니 로도 땅 수수 가르연의 지긴 삼삼지 레고도 어디 닝지디 땅안서 레고고요 레서 왔다 딜레고 레서 디 말레야디 가르스나 딜레고 왔다 타마딩에 나와도 슬랍샤나라
So, in terms of where we are with others, we have this empathy, or most of us just have it naturally that, when we see others suffering, we're concerned that we don't want them to suffer as well. And then, there is that concern. Suffering or not. Yeah, but then problem is we forget that there is a kind of passing concern for their welfare when they suffer, but then we lose that concern. But except actually for it's kind of mixed with attachment, and that's one reason we lose that concern. But also, except for that, the bottom line is that all beings, including animals, do not want that suffering and are the same in that they want to be separated from it. But then, sometimes we take that concern of others suffering to a yet deeper level. Let's say those close to you, your parents, your friends, your loved ones, are suffering. Then again, you can't bear it and you wish them not to experience that. But then again, that doesn't last either. That goes. But then taking that feeling or concern for others suffering deeper, until it is so deep, there is a compassion. Not only do you wish that those beings or those loved ones free from suffering, but it is a type of compassion that I will do it. Whatever it takes, I will remove that suffering for them. And this is the type of compassion we need. Responsible.
다디 저는 Dila yongure la that's all bugu amara ama.
Yeah.
Ama chigla bugu chigle mena ani bugu thondala pet susu bugu di yidong shibshi bugu di lega nundri chena ama khondu sagmen dorwa.
Yeah.
Odi bugu di la yimong namba yeba inza bi bugu di be susu ama dingola ta zambule na ngara bugu di yashuro ro.
Yeah.
아니 부구 딱 아마다 부구 대화하고 여버디 시골 당해로 가지 대화하고 매어든데 대화 딜라고요 말에 대화하고 여버디 그냥 알아이네 알아 아마다 대화하고 여러 아니 그 기승에 말라인 봐 나랑 그거네야 나랑 아마디 이동 쉬지로 잠블리나네 아마 약셔 뭐네 땡더라 셈당하러 배 가서는 아메에게 야자 야탐바 말 삼는 단계여 가지고 초알리기도 마딜레기도 춘주간에 아마디게 갓뒤는 거야가는 상로단데 버지르바 베나 네 아자당 오마드 두들레 하가지 알라 삼로 당겨야지 얘기 초디 하고도 네 고연디네 아말 이원 남바 통고다 아메 알 이원 남바 통고요라 그래서 이동에 남바 써야 돼 이동에 남바 써야 돼 여비나 아니 동에다 대왕 애치기 써야 닝지다 부터 닝지 등원에 디용고요다 항상 닝지 쓰니 디용고요다
Yeah, like some. So really, this heartfelt concern for others, compassion in the sense that you cannot bear to see them suffering and you're responsible for it. The mother and the children, the parents and the children, there is a connection between the mother and child that even if the child is mistaken, the mother loves the child so much she won't get angry, isn't it? That's kind of unconditional regard. And then, as I mentioned the other day, you think that your mum is the best mum in the world because of that affectionate regard, let's say attractive, seeing them as attractive. When I think about that connection between my mother and myself, yeah, I would think 100% that's the best mum in the world, because my mum's concern for me was quite paramount. I even felt it quite strongly that she was more concerned for me than her sister, for example. So therefore, it is this, and because she had that to me, I had that to her. So that kind of closeness, that unconditional closeness. Now, that closeness of affection is the cause of the compassion, because once that is there, you cannot bear to see that one suffer. So you wish for them to be separate from that suffering.
당아서 어디 셈진신라 닝지 삼바상부제라 닝지 겨우라 당고 하산 닝지 겨워 채워라 셈진신라 이용 남바진의 공부를 스타디 답란디 더 송구여라
Right, so also this type of compassion we're referring to is called the superior thought, when you're going to be responsible to remove that person's suffering predicament. So really, basically, if you want to cultivate that uncontrived compassion, you need a kind heart. And then the basis of that is, as has been said, feeling close to them, feeling warmth. Yeah.
제가 딜라 아니 가서 다 팀소 팀 거린 친구 임바 삼고고다.
야.
거린 친구 임바 잠마데 아니 표저디 수술 다 녜도 디도 통달라 파르베 솔르당. 배낭 가서 튼루드들라 따더라. 튼루드들. 튼루 가시에 수술 부고 통달라 솔르당 그더라.
야.
배나 단다 전조 식당 따다 저기 아니 디 샤워기 부구사도에는 아마디게 따게 뭐는 요도다 아마디 부구던다 수술로 당기도
로 당기도
튼두직라 디도 와 먼저 레로와 튼두라 도와데 튼두게 부구던다 아마로 당기도 와 제가 다가제 간조 가딘 친구 임바디 디신고로 당망으로
Now that concern for others' welfare in terms of separating them from the suffering, if we look at repaying the kindness, reflecting on how they're kind and wanting to pay it back, it is like you would give up your very life for them. So we, whether they're going through thick or thin, good or bad, you give up your life for them. You know, you often see it with animals that if the deer are being attacked by the tigers or leopards, the mother deer will, cover the baby so that the baby doesn't get attacked. So it's like that.
대체당 안 하죠. 야디 고미야라 다 카시에 수수수에 단단 아랑게 배셰기요라 아마디 그러지. 수수 카시에 아마 주주간에 카트에와 참조 말하거든요. 아니 바웨스거든요. 야치 안디로 안갈로 된데서 야 보로 모로 다 간다. 먼저 주주간에 미지기 참조 지가 쏘라 다 간다. 참조 지가 맞으나는 가서 다 잘다 요 말인데.
And in my case, that kindness I refer to my mother's kindness. There are cases where some of you will have been separated from your mother early and you might not have had that experience, but it could have been a father, an auntie, an uncle, a grandfather or mother. Someone would have shown you that affectionate regard. Without that, you wouldn't have survived.
Yeah,
there are those even that are born in hospital and they're under the kindness of the nurse, no?
간다 미 잠정직이 가서 춘주간라 로다 스스 너와 부지 밥도고이나 춘주간라 무대 파육토고 매와 미지기 육으라.
Yeah, when we're infants and insects land on face, no one can take it away. Someone has to take it away from you.
더저 이제 사무당으로 알아. 미신기 잠정다 미신기 가딩이 먼저 초대해야지 임바데 디 사무당제.
Yeah, so thinking about that protection to sustain your life, that kindness, one needs to reflect on how that came.
어디 영원 참봤어야 돼. 당저 단다디 샘진 다 탐제를 당고 깨도 말아. 당고 수술은 거서 저의 얘기들을 찍을지 일레지도 영원 참봤다. 영원 참봤지야라. 아니 당용 공부를 당고로 봐. 당용.
Right, so this mind of attraction, or let's say affectionate, unconditional affection for all living beings, doesn't come at once, but one has, towards all sentient beings doesn't come at once, but one has to start with those that are close to you. And in order for that to occur, first you have to cultivate impartiality, or say equanimity.
다 당용 공부래. 단다 베제날 셰나네 수수 마치뇽 바셰 그랬라로다. 마신 있어야 돼. 다디 마치뇽 바셰 바체. 아니 데네 디 가딩게 다 틴템바디. 네 삼당고 요레스다 디시기요라.
Yeah. So first one has to cultivate an attitude of equanimity to all beings, and then recognizing how they have been your mother, kind in that regard, and the wish to repay the kindness.
먼저 천자도 봐. 먼저 먼저 된대 용다 저랑들에 삼단다 용고. 먼저 수수예 미카시 상상라. 미지레 삼상 삼로제 땅투면 달아. 디 미지레야. 먼저 나다 찍바에 미지레 삼로데 땅투면 시다게 강의 총으로 해라 편도 용서라. 먼저 디 땅금인도 안 배줘야 수수 찍고 나 신이지면시 지금 수수예 미디 아래 된 미지레야. 나다 찍버레 삼상 로지 찍기도 해. 저랑서 찍기도 해. 다다. 다다라.
It's strange, isn't it? There are sometimes when those that are close to us, we don't even kind of recognize their humanity. Like, just the basic fact that they are human like you will reduce a lot of difficulties you might have with them, because we're so fixated on just me that we forget that basic. Do you think that sometimes? Yeah.
드네 상로 매사베시고 아니 비저 대화되는데 동네 텐텐로지다 가지 그래라.
Yeah, so if we're fixating just me all the time and we can't even think on that basic premise of being human, how are you going to generate the thought that they be free from suffering and have bliss? No opportunity?
딜라라 단다 베샤라 베드 가르샤르스나 아니 사시로 먼저 메도지 싱도시 따고라 싱도 전원도 단다 싱도다 딩산다 싱도 따고도 하다 싱도 담디 싱가데 베 찬양보서오더라 싱가데 도메바 자메버와 자상모 파고 도도즈 메버스 당보사디 신부시르서오더라 아니 사신부서사서는 아니 싱도 그 선도 주고더라 so in the zoo, and the nature on the Chugaya, Lu Javia, does it give the Singdo the Bay, Jeungdara, and the Singdo in the hopes to the Netu study Ratamo, study just so good as Angmashu, just a park or two go. And then the neck on the net. 추잡고도하다 추잡 되네 다 등산 케미컬 잡고도하다 되네 깨용도 알아 깨용도 그 치근고 그러다 내려도 알아 깨용도 득스깨도 알아
So the analogy is given on the outer level of making the ground smooth. So prior to the fruit being planted and the crop maturing, one has to even the ground. So then the ground is even and the rubble, the stones and all that stuff is taken away. Then the seed is planted. Then the next step will be water, fertilizer, isn't it? And then the crops come. I have observed them with the hops here.
Watching,
they cultivate and cultivate and cultivate before they plant, and then they water, and then the harvest comes plus chemicals. But this is just the outer level of how it functions, outer example, right? So that, cultivating that mind of impartiality, equanimity, is just like the smoothing the ground.
다 당념대 사시나시 찬양보 주고요. 찬양보 가를 사찬요 가서나 당념이나 먼저 탐제 미 맞지 버래. 대화도 동의미 되고 맞지 버래. 삼삼로지에는 단단 안주선을 찍으면 딩에 가버리 딩에 마가오레 딩알라 되어요레 딩알라 되어요 말해서 다 여와 쉽지요로 맞죠?
Yes.
안주 여 가시 안주 디 푸드들이 안주 포모드들이 안주 디 샤조오레 안주 늪조오레 안주 최진이레 최마진이레 다 여와 쉽지 치기도 아니 안주 축부레스 아니 교버레스 다 여와 쉬어 지제제 되도 당연 요마라다. 제가 네 여와디 체교야 말이다. 당도 상마 찍거래 상마 상무디 당념사디 데르다다. 수수쌤들 야차 마차다. 예제 매된 조지 속으로서. 다디서 디도게 당한서 따오라.
So up and down. So then sorry, shall I translate from the back to the front? Up and down. So then that mind of equanimity, not even having it to humans, not even being able to think we are the same in that we are human, but then, because we're constantly going, I like so-and-so, I don't like so-and-so, or I have a connection with that one, but not with that one, or these are our kind of male friends, or these are our female friends, or these are Westerners, these are Easterners, these are practicing Dharma, these are not practicing Dharma, these are rich, these are poor. But the mind is constantly making these discriminations and going up and down. So that needs to be neutralized.
그래서 당한서 네 닝지디 사변나시다. 당념디 사시나시로. 닝지디 사변나시 사변다.
So if the equanimity is the ground, then the compassion is the seed.
다 이원 참바당. 아니 도스 상마다 추당 류나시 이원 참바대 봐.
Loving kindness is the fertilizer, the water and so forth that you fertilize the seed with.
디 예나 아니 다 로도 제용 로도 거지워서는 다 대화요 다 디기요.
If you have those things together, then the crop is able to mature. What is the crop? It is bliss, final bliss. Well-being.
저단디 도모점된데 디치가 돌아가서 쇼베 건조 선념론가 돌아 선념 베데 미가제가 청도 내가 제거래서 저는 싱갔다고 그래서 칼라스 어거이나 싱갔다 브르다고 그래서 저는 내가 제거 소남 제거래서
kasi labura mid
건조인데 라라 좀 된데 가르스 그래서 나 소남 제기여서 나 소남 제기여 아니 건조 소남 가르쳐서 나 당념이 사시체 닝지게 사변체 장주생의 추단 류체 안에 되게 대화디 대기디 아니가 점블링 도어리둑 셈지 탐제라 콘서 롱제 주고였어요. 소남 지치기 네 나한게 소남 치기 결혼서 치기 소남 치기 디치고 디레더라.
So at the time of Shakyamuni Buddha, the monks would often go for rounds, for alms, and at times they would face criticism. People would say, well, why don't you go out and work and, plant crops and get your own food? To which Shakyamuni Buddha replied, we are collecting merit. We are collecting merit. This is for the ground of equanimity in which we will plant the seeds of compassion and watered by loving kindness, the resultant crop of which will benefit all of the beings, all of the sentient beings, those insights in the world. We're doing it in an inner way. You can carry on and do it in an outer way.
the 당용 그 사시 띵야라 배셔대고 사시 요거만 등산 사관 진보라.
Yeah, if you want to cultivate that ground of equanimity, you don't have to pay for land. These days you do. It's expensive.
아니 이 신도 사면도 좀 권전보래도 알아. 네 닝질라니 배셔제대고 말해. 닝질해라.
And seeds, you have to buy them for your crop, but compassion doesn't cost a cent. You don't need money for that.
Then that things the mulling la chu nyodo and the lewd and chemical to the consumer.
Yeah. And then these days in the world, we're having lots of problems with water, problems with chemicals. We need.
Chambala nyodo in the yamara.
If you cultivate uncontrived love, none of those problems there.
제가 다 당보들라 맞아 수수 쌤디 시와 찬양보 와 먼저 매제나라 강에 연구를 나고 가르쳤나 코디나라 내 진제라 추발나시 동에 추발나시 연구를 직접 강에 직접보다 직접 학월도 만나서 미카시엘라 근데도 녀도 촌은 저야 민조드네 다디 수수 껴와 되게 렉 되고 말해 껴와가면 렉 되버려 카시엘라 찍되고다야 찍만도 찍되고다 찍만도는데 닝닝자 근데도 디 스트레스게요 말이다 디 내가들라 가르쳐 버려서나 디 쌤게 체로 마담이지로 강에데 체로 마담이지 먼저 뒤에 강에 춘춘주의나 디야 쌤게 전부 소시하고 봐 먼저 동해 강에 야정아유나 아니 지나게 주스 지나게 빈자게 정하세 근데 내 도부터 먹이지 아니 간사질 강에 나 주친저도 야담부 소시하고 봐 근데 간사람들 소셜 미디어는 도서는 안 살다 아니 나 배드 그 살다 여기다 아니 미견 친주지나 나 주정은 유시 쇠를 가고 싶다 아니 잡로를 바바바바바 셰를 가고 싶다 아니 네 제가 하고 위에서 제가 하고 뭐서 셰 근데 다 투즈토라 아니 미심 두고도 알아 심 두고도 편도 없는다 제가 네 당용 검야지 단단히 강에 가려 있는 심마르고 소트해야 돼 답시 열 당하죠 제 열 검야 열다
So it is important to cultivate the mental peace of equanimity because in the context of this life, difficulties and suffering is there. It is the nature of the samsara. The suffering comes like ripples or waves that are incessant. When the problems go, another wave comes. Well, there are some beings who seem to have problem after problem, isn't it? Like once they get over one difficulty, then another one comes. And then this we would have to say is the maturation from past lives. Oh dear, that could be like a compassion for us to have for them. Then the question would be what to do in those circumstances. Better you do not increase the difficulties you face. Don't make them worse. What tends to happen is we face a small condition of suffering, we blow it up to make it bigger. So something that started out as 5%, then 10, 15 because of adding on extra conditions to what is already a problem. Like it starts with you and then it goes brothers, sisters, friends, 10, 15. And then suddenly that small problem has become 100% big. Once it reaches social media, you're kind of finished. And then there are some that seem to just like that trouble. They ride on it. They go behind others' backs and they go blah, 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 1, 2, and 3. And then independence on that, you've got this kind of hallucination thing going on. That which is not the case is projected to be the case. So therefore, if you have a mind of equanimity, that is a method whereby you will not be affected by any of that.
네 베디 된다디 메디 좀 된데 로규나라 된데도 아니 좀 된데 창사자라 근데 창사자데 창지만 부모님 저 실질 자라 좀 된데 주죠 레진이라 레진
Yep.
레진 부모님도 창사자고다
Yep.
안 레진 아마디 타도 사는다 그런 그 불러디 부모님 창사자여 말아 안 창사자에 니마 당보다 자가디 니마 당보디 지우지 자지 뭐 되거라 안 근데 강배 나라인데 근데 용네 가서 부던다 디버라자요 디버라자 토요니죠 나쁘지 어딘데 배망고 욕시거든 아니 여기도 아니 부모한테 다 쉬어시네로 왔다 부모들 쉬어시 근데 좀 된대는 아니 좀 된대 상마디 그런 욕보들 되게 상마 주로로 쓰여서 그 신나지를 봐 욕시었어 아니 네 부모들이 다 가래 네 제주 지오랬어 봐 수유물에 제주 지오랬어 좀 된대 다 맞았는데 내지 춘주래 다 춘주디 처음 와서 욕시었어 아니 시민도 왔어 봐 아니 너가 제민도 다 디그레스 좀 된대 미수서브레 수유물에 제주 제제야 말다 아니 내주 제요 매부터 쓰셔다 아니 근데 저거랑 저 처연날 강의 퇴근데 탑남도 저거라 디매우체 야직스 디수세레 가두체레 가제로 너너너너너네 상모마지 쓰셔거든 아주 탑남도 노르고도 와
There's a story at Buddha Shakyamuni's time of Lechin Changsajabirwadipa.
말은 좀 된데 창자로
Ale
레진
Lunglam.
타도사로 레진 아마 타도사로
Lord Buddha.
음
Lord Buddha was going to marry, and his cousin Lechin's mother got really jealous because her son hadn't married in their side of the family. So at that potential wedding, she put lots of scorpions, set them at that place. And the woman that was betrothed got really, really scared and started to freak out that there were all these scorpions. And Shakyamuni Buddha got some people gathered together and took out the scorpions. And this woman said to Buddha, asking all these questions, who could possibly have done that? Where did they come from? Why did they do that? And Buddha said, oh, no big problem. If you go into all those things, you'll just make it worse. It's kind of dealt with. It is not important who did it, where they come from, how it was done. But we tend to do this, when we face a problem. So this,
제가 두종은 lap질내야도 와라
yeah.
메진날이야 다 응원에게 제외기 닝지스는 표절로 동해 총땅으로
Yeah.
탑람지신 동해디 총으로 땅으로 마시 동해 치로 따나 되니 펜토요 말다 단다도도 되다
Essentially it's saying that in this life, out of a love of concern and compassion, when we face problems, they make them less. The point is not to increase the problems, is it?
다디 간데서 싱그레스 해야 돼. 제가 비저 동해 치로 땅 것도 총으로 땅 것도 됐다고 그래. 총으로 땅 것도나 골래가도 치로 땅 것도나 되니 참 샤워라 처음에도 된 동해 퇴버 수수 동해선이 유차로 그더라.
Yeah. So then there's a choice there. Either you make the suffering worse or you make it less. And if you make it greater, well, you're just making it hard for yourself. It's better to leave it.
제가 되셨다. 한다 이원 참바 고미야디. 제가 저 이원 참바 고미야라. 단다데 베전나나 덴데스타 책디 배우고도 마지 클럽샤너라. 아니 탐제 이용이 남아지는 도와서 샘제 탐제에서 공론 파벌레 참배 니 전주 쌤이 규len데서 세리여베 사시신디에서 참바 닝지 전부 네 담나다 델라데 네 신디 용스 개와 주려서 닝지 전부 사면 담나 아니 대화 델라데 신디 용스 그거 용거래서 되나 샘진 담제 규를 참바고마 이네 참바다 니지고마 저 시송베스 다디 고는 바베 롱디시로 다 저를 무진 가르성으로서 대 송베 참바니 샘제 담제 부두바다를 통해 이용의 남바진데 세다 이용 남바진 통고레스 아니 땅용 공배 아니 착당하게 무슨 마뇽 바데 아니 심 랑롱을 봐 당뇨면 작다유나 아니 먼저 심배 야차 마차 미직톤듀가 미직톤듀 도 미직톤듀 낭메다 미직톤듀 자레자 미직을 냠바데 미직을 냠마데 하면서 예와체고로 와 당뇨면은 어디 되어 당뇨면은 어디 대바 시장 뭐 쓰셔고요레스
Kisla di jiong jambaki kongde.
고민 봐버려도 대 탐제 이용은 남아진 공부데 기승 음악 랍세 참되네 마 두고 당해 틴템바 하고 돼 틴템바 공부 간데도 마신 틴소 틴 공부도
Aleo.
대 윤대 명아 듄요
Odu.
어디 디 틴템바 공부 니시에 디 간즈레도다네 탐제 이용은 남아진 공부니 고민 봐버려스
Kongre papa chandu goman di marwa.
고민 봐버디 디제로 하고서 레베 까말시라로
Tin chusu di gangwe.
틴텐기 간데도 디베 디단데 데르베 TV 바라바데레
Gadin tinso pate.
틴텐 뭐 공부니 세대 간데도 키싱에만 간주 참제바디네 마도고요 베나 니와 림젠데 장발라 숨제로 니 신도 되니지로 장바다 전주 되니로 장 subject heading로 도다로 디워
Tambo this
이용 탐제 이용 그 나머지는 공부했어 단당에 참랍서들 기생아마 저는 다 제비는 에디 참마티로
ta di pejin andara samari.
당에 던다도 말랍샤고라
Yeah, di yangelabna.
디 제일랑은 줄라비 칙디야 디누마 칙디마 로나 저는 저 코사를 야고치도 신데 봐 여기 디 제일라 쇼그란다 줄라비체로 땅에 던다도 말랍스로 지나 던다데 나 유문 참바 땅요매나 아니 셈디베 야마 차든죠 차로 그래서 땅요면나 아니 셈디베 신부 차로 그래서 다 던다디 시고
So it's saying that if there is equanimity, then the mind won't go to these extremes of being up and down. But without equanimity, no love, no unconditional love can occur because the mind is biased.
다 딜야 아니 가르고고여서 제단 단다 람림 쯤은알라 단다디 마시바다 틴템바세로 마시바디 마시바디 고면 주장가라 먼저 코 통마매바네다 제와 통마매바네 먼저 베나 단다 간저 미 당무시서 저러 나미디 저런도 가실래던데도 와 나미디 님도 죽음이 해봐 나디 미디 깨지시기미
Yeah.
어딘데 미지 여나 디 미디 경아말라 수수 아마이 수수를 자와드니지 아마지 인테나 배워요로
Yeah. Now, in the context of this first, after equanimity, we recognize beings as having been mother and how they've been kind, but also that they have been one's dear mother since time without beginning. Because there are times when there are beings you don't want to meet or see, but if you can recall at one stage they were your kind parent and they looked after you with warmth and affection, they will help.
한다 틱디 다든데 데르바가서 수수 이지체 딜라야 겨왕아지 켈리말레세드다 수수랑어로 유니 유다주레다 간다로 유니 켈말레나 수수 다 여바데 하고라고 저러
Yeah.
딜라다 삼무당하지 않아서 뭐 윤대가 남샤도 삼단나야 워 윤대 베낭아랑저 치기 뭐보듯이 유단 견라 되는 제거도 왔사면다 뉴고다 되는 추단 류다 된대야 왜는 제거도 되지 하고다 가데나시 스스 셈게 디도도서 와 셈게 디지도서 가르는 내용거도 동해도서 가르는 내용거도 당연하죠 내가 그 동해다 디지 상마 스스 뭐에서 되어 있는 내용거도 알아 스스 뭐에서 답변한 거랑저 benangazo de chozo la chaje na chozo na la denye de yede jig la phazu samshi che tunlam che ane jig dinde ya wo yo na kibudo warwa ta deme che nga ji nga ni nga jenja labje mila samshi che mena ane kanza la desa saji jig la dedewi ne ane de yo mara kaza chora waji yo mara phanzu jig le ro ane kibus ke yo mara ro ane ko de saji jig na la dede na sim na la tarang mu shujo ro 다 사자 디간라 대자디 말아도 다 레로지 될 사자디나 렙자로 답시게 요 내가 될 대주래 디질가 수수대지 삼시제 대지 종케 내려 강에든데도나 대지 동해 당랭이 세버체 대지 세버 공고로 세버 공제 강에든데도나 동해라 당랭이 세버 공네 아니 대네 갈래지 페저지기 어다 파조베데 미지를 사무다는 거라 두두두 세나네 수수 가와 대비나 베 기워다 두 상마지 다 개체슈데 당고수 김장난다 촉바다 두전난도서 뭐에서 저외니 동해지요네 두줄라데네 연구도 알아 마지베데 딜레 연구도 기부데 딜레네 연구도 제가 콘솔랑한서 대화 로보다 수수응네 바 가서 직 로아직 가서 야고치야로 가서 또 따로 펜도라고 가지시도 다 펜도 제네 페조딩 원래만 제베제 나베 개바이 나 신기에 람나테네 다 자성 못 찾아라 아니 답시 다 오래다 가가게 뭐라고 계셔야면서 답시 시야게 힘들어 제단디 뭐스 되어서 되게라 말아이나 배준 지게 여러 이나네 페조게 액셉트하고 마셔나나 우즈게요 뭐라고 그러러 우즈게 비요 망아 우즈게 할 가우치네 그런 디치오를 라야 나 가오메 수수 가외톤의 지기나 최대 야구책으로 대매시 직치 니치 되데 나라이나래 대 가오메 미신달래 대 가오 연구 말해서 대 연구면도 학벌도 최세야 돼 라운톤의 식으로 생 띵네 줌진 삼단 식으로 메시 뒤에나 최 부타고 냠네 부타고 연구로 부타고서 그랬다 수수 가오 연구로 나 알아는데 이제 제위인다 대 지금 가르치다다 도도에 봐 지금 상무시 당인데 다 간다는 거에서 대화에서 될라 먼저 개체슈의 당보 당용 검사된 거에서 대화에서 되네 공부 요래서 대 윤대 남샤 삼는 당고 요래서 다 디믹도디 윤대 삼다야들 에스터와
the key 가고스면
다 당용 팀 쳔반데로 간린시와 당 소소게 무엇을 대화에서 되게라야다 삼시치고에 대해서 대도 가리는 텔레디네 연구요래서
yeah. So then, in that case, then connecting with others, you know, in terms of that notion of there having been your parent or mother, it is good if you can have some understanding of past lives. But whether or not you come to that conclusion is in your own hand. Well, one has to know reality as reality, but here we're talking about the law of behavioral cause and effect. And we can see the law of cause and effect working on an outer level, isn't it? So the way that seeds are planted and mature into crops, that's one level of the outer workings of cause and effect. But what about the mind in terms of the mind's commensurate bliss and suffering? Well, let's just talk about the temporal happiness where we are, or whether we're happy or not. And that is directly dependent on the ones around us now, isn't it? So, for example, like at the Dharma Center, if we make effort to be harmonious with each other, then there's a good feeling. And that results in our immediate well-being just on that temporal sense. But conversely, if we are just concerned with ourselves, 1, 2, and 3, and always fixating on I, with no concern for others, then there will be no good feelings and no happiness. So in that sense, you are in the same place, but the mind is far, if you will. You know. So the fact that somehow you're in a place that's karma. So you have to deal with that when you're in that place. Now, taking that, being in that place, you have to take some degree of difficulty. It takes effort when you're in a place. So, for example, to be able to to be able to take on the suffering, if you can bear a little bit of difficulty when you're interacting with others, then what happens is you can go anywhere and be happy. So that's very important, that when you're connecting, that you make these connections of equanimity with those that are close to you, family, friends. Connect with them, whether you're going through sufferings or happiness, and make the connections good. Don't make the connections come from a place where, oh, I'm kind of like expert and I know it all, with pride, but make effort. Yeah, make it like a natural thing. I mean, I try and practice this with those close, because if it's coming from a natural warmth, then there's going to be the chance of an exchange taking place, but not to push it. Like if you give warmth out, but it doesn't come back, then just leave it. Because particularly with Dharma, unless there's that basis of warmth, the Dharma is not going to occur freely out of love. So that path then that we're going down of Dharma has to come as a direct result of first this mind of equanimity to all beings. And that very much is the key, demirwa. Yeah. That's the key. But underlying all of that is the understanding of cause and effect. Yeah? Behavioral cause and effect, karma.
that 당부 먼저 저런저 kanchi sawa yorwa. 제가
Yeah.
미신달에 곰자고라디 내가 지금 말을 되는 수수 심내 타라래. 심기 kumshi ngem바데 아 심도도 자도 아데 매버 송이 랍데나 다 용거 말해 되네 도래 베나단다 베차샤웨나 그는 안 알아다 근데 장난숑저저라 아가 알아 장난숑데요 아가 베베다 미 아도자레인데 람나 아니 삼바마지와 망고 쇼저래 데 딜라 삼 코나 당기요 뭐 오네지나 nga 알아 addiction 요 nga 미도자레 삼당 말해 텔레코 당고 찡 디링 알아 동금이로 니마지 nga 동금이로 니마지 동금이 아니 알아 동세게 도보도 저기다 쇼쇼서 디링 동금이 nga 디링 동 니마지 등 도상 배단신 곰자에 나다고 삼바상고 해야 될래 nga be ranjin지 차보여 nga 미도자레샤다 be ranjin지 동에 그 자월에서도 nga ranjin지 숙첨부도 당한배 도자레샤상 아니 수수수수 더 전환적 가서 디프레션이지 라고도 근데 수수수수 만낸 거 요르스 만낸 거요다 디상모 그런 당 말해 다 디링 니마직 등 앞에 삼바상고체 냥문에 밀려야 직 삼시체 가서 톱도지 니마직 나라 가서 톱도지 지도 지기니 들어 두 삼단에 아니 셈나려야지 가로당 가와당 아니 근데 용거로 되게네 가서 그래다지 개월에야디나 냠 개월에야디 가싱 조신 쳐야 되려
Yeah, delight and joy.
되려
So particularly for those of us that are new to meditation practice, it would be very important not to force oneself. If you recognize habits that are negative, not to force oneself, or even talk to friends like, oh, I've got these bad habits, I have to do this, and talk about it in kind of like an extreme way. So for example, if you have an alcohol problem, and to put oneself down, oh, I'm so bad, I have an alcohol problem, it would be much more constructive, not even to think that you're bad initially, but just to think maybe just for one day, perhaps I'll try and not take that alcohol, for example. Or, if you're new to meditation and you heard that self-cherishing, self-fixation is the root of all suffering, so you tend to think, oh, I'm so full of self-fixation. I've got such a strong ego, put yourself down, and you think you're a bad person, And then the extreme of that would be depression, wouldn't it? But it would be much better in the context of a day that if you do your best to help someone out, you do your best to be good, then, because the definition of virtue is that which delights in joy. You have a joy around doing good. That's it.
알아서 삼례하고 다나로 단다 주주 단다 먼저 수지를 강이요 말해. 저런서 삼나 가시에 된데 튕기래 아가 지지지 마두자지 가지 니니니 삼텐데나 수수 셈게신 튕데르면서 단다 주주 단다라라 먼저 수지를 강에 매어 단다.
Yeah. And actually, look at us. We have no real issues and sufferings. Some people think, oh, I'm bad, 1, 2, and 3, and it's mental, isn't it? Putting oneself down.
대와 제만이 있어봐. 대외 내주기 제일 두기요 말이야.
Yeah.
마음에 두면서 다다외 심 다다외가 되고 그래서 다다와.
As it is said, don't fixate on the past and don't contrive the future. Place the mind in the present moment.
대단한서 부구춘주에서 디 돈안에 개무배 좀아지 개구도. 그래서 컨셉이 다다와가는 데대로. 당한서 마음자라 수수 대외 내줄라다 지 레마서 니니 레마서 수부대대를 심 조사다 요. 아니 수부단 심 커넥션 로스 차데 아니 수부나라 대요 말에 가오 그마야단 지지 조에디 시라 요 말에 가서나 그 수부 심 조사로 부부도 수부나라 심지 단다 대대요라고 서버시 대자는 컨서 돈에 개모닝 저거 개도 니 배직 뚝뚝 도와 보고 그 돈을 개모데 좀단 쉬어져 가르치는 연구하려서 컨서 쌤들 다 들어가는 데대요. 데리다.
And if we look at children, the laugh is on the edge of their mouth. But for us, we might always be thinking, oh, in the past this happened, that happened. So your body is there, mind is gone. So then there's no connection to that joy. But kids normally have body and mind connected, so there's a beautiful laugh. Yeah. Present moment. Yeah, it's wonderful if you can place the mind in right present moment.
세상당한서 이원 참바 공부 채워라 아니 심진 단대기 배제시단되게 심진 탐제랑가 마치뇽 바셔버스 심진 찍이 숨네 대제 상황하랑게 남미다 마치뇽 바 파치뇽 바 아니 수수 제와제시게 담물린디나 제와제시 약셔줘라 어디 치뇽 바 부구 치뇽 바 개겐 치뇽 바 아니 수수게 다 담물린 겨데나라다 가데 가셔 디인세야 저러다 어디 미 심지 탐제기 겨 통마매원에 디 친용 받은데 상담이나 아니 디 이원 참바데 깨야가 탑란디 나다디 마신 바세고 거던데 다 고도다한테 된데래서
So that close affection for all living beings, unconditional regard for them all, has to come from recognizing that one was one's mother, that one was one's father, once, twice, 3 times, that one was one's partner, one's teacher, one's child, one's lover, the best person in the universe for you. And all sentient beings have been like that. And that is the method to get the closeness, the feeling of love.
먼저 상원 다 가시 제가 멘다레 파마 미제 거라
Yeah.
덴데 어다데 제가 멘다레 파마 미제 거래 등에 relate 마레 삼삼지 여러다 수
Yeah.
디 여사되네 여러버지 가진 체로거다 파 체로거다라
Yeah.
다 섬로데 마담제 어다 겨지글라 먼저 디제데 낭미지래와 겨지글라 먼저 미디제데 낭미지래 먼저 낭미지래 땅아라
Okay.
나라 낭미님들에 대대 섬로시 땅다
You might, some people in this room might think, these are not my relatives. Because you're from a different country or something. And then you've already discriminated that. But if you have the thought, in the context of this life, we're here, we are family, there's a big difference in those two approaches.
네, samlodi tanarwa ta dewa dilada nangmi jik cha sing marwa dewa shinda jik lang nangmi rwa dewa shinda jik lang nangmi jik wa yin sigrwa
Yeah, so what,
just
be clear that we're not saying we're all family this life in blood, but at some stage in the past we were.
so pakwa dewa lena pakwa jik la pakdu jonga judu do nyushi de do ane pama jik la pena nge andi jik la pugu judu ye ande de som do ku jimi jonga le min do judu do nge andi jik la pugu judu ye ra ane de nangmi jik do judu jip din che ane ko gren beren che chop je chigu da nyushi de cha ro da ra pama ni je ane bola mola je de chedan ko nangmi jik la min nyushi da ba da chedan kenan se san la ngaz di je de nangmi jik yon sig mara san sigre ro phedo ba ngama ne mi직 nangmi judu job ge chen yo de ne pugu job ge ane pama ni jamna nyushi da ma cha sa nangmi jik la min nyushi da ma do ane
So what, 15 people or so in this room, and then it's possible we were all one family, you know, just like pakpasire pig. Pigs. Sorry, pigs can often have a big litter. 15, 16, and then you throw in the parents. That just about does it for this room. But anyway, in Tibet it was common to have 16 or 17 kids, and then you put in mum and dad and the grandparents, and we've just about got 20. So that could be like this.
Maybe we include the online maybe 2 3 Ele ni da lo do da I believe that where's them go, this is my parents and I so relaxed. Other people doesn't matter what they're thinking, what they I don't judge, you know. Myself and leave my home, you know. This reason I go everywhere. I have lost house. Quite I have 2 3 4 and Wellington and Queenstown and Wanaka and yeah, I have those people. And now the Australia, the Sydney, 2 3 people. They say if you open door coming, we said, you know, so they already invite me. You know, I have some house everywhere. And in Europe, you know, Italy, France, Swiss, Belgium, and nothing costs $1 no cost mess up. Still cost money other people send, you know. I'm free. Everywhere I have very comfortable bed, you know. I believe I leave my parents' house. I'm so relaxed. I think huge benefit of this. You believe that, you know. You don't need to find exactly we are same when we have when we are same family. If you want this understanding, you need to become Buddha. Then you know. Otherwise, no chance. You try to like that. Better to you believe, you know. Oh, for example, piglets, right?
Piglets.
Don't even. Well, one time we are pig, then we have 20 pig, one family. And then animal shinda karere, bumangu jinjo karere, animal. Shinda yore, pakwa member bumangu jinjo yore, yomara.
Yeah, are there other animals that have big offspring litters?
I don't know that.
Yeah, many others, yeah.
Pig, I know. Our parents have pig. You know, we have a lot of pig story.
From the egg.
Okay.
Some have so many.
Oh, the one birds. They have big family together. What's called it? Yes. Sometimes the 16, 20 come together, isn't it? This one family, isn't it? They go together like that. 제가 나한테 겨우 먹었는데 루루체 대여로 두두 테나 아니 야고요래로.
Yeah, we would have gathered together in past lives as a group, so it's good to recall.
제가 다른 뭐 개인지 말해요, 너.
Not so far away.
다른 거 인지 말해. 제가 근데 상담하나 아니 loneliness 레드레민도 하다 가을에다. 로야.
Yes. And to think like that, then there's no way one can feel lonely.
야, 말하면 가을은 수수낭미. 데 쇼편도도 하던다. 거기서 같이 adding some if you believe that a huge benefit. They show.
Yeah, Deshana. We'll
Stop here.
Turning to page 31 in the orange book with a short mandala.
Toshin Jushu Meto Trom, Rirab Lingshin Nite Kempati.
Shindi Mindi Ewaye, Dragunanda Shinla Chepa Sho. Uzera Pishin, Naga Trinle Choju Kevat. Losan Timbe Drame Sasumji. Emese Dado Nejuji. Guru Rene Mendela Kamni Yatayami.
Page 33, prayers of dedication. Due to the merit of these virtuous may all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel Bodhicitta that has not arisen, rise and grow, and may that which has arisen